Hello, Beard Wizard family, beer enthusiasts, friends, family. Everybody's here. I appreciate you being here. This is our semi-final episodes of Battle of the Retro American Beers. I've been working through this for a long time. We had a collection of 12 beers. Realize it created a problem for myself. We'll get to it in a minute. But I started with 12 beers. All had to be old school beers that used to be popular, used to be really big, that had either fallen out of favor, closed down, and resurged, whatever it may be. But we had a collection of 12 beers, actually 11, because I sucked at Google one day and I looked up one beer wrong, and turns out it wasn't a retro beer. So Lone Star Beer made it through to the semifinals by default because I put them up against a beer that wasn't a retro American beer. 12 beers, if you're doing the math, that means we have 6 left, which is going to give us 3 rounds in the semifinals. And then how do we choose who goes to the finals? So I'm not sure exactly how we're going to figure this out, but once we get through the semifinals, we're going to be left with 3 beers, and then we've got to pit 2 against each other to come up with the champion. I don't know. We'll figure it out when we get there, but right now we are going to take a look at 2 of the winners from our original round. Stroh's, who is a beer out of Detroit, and Lone Star, a beer out of Texas. We're going to try them, see which one we like the best. I'll tell you what I think, and that beer that wins will move on to the finals. But before we jump in there, in case you missed previous episodes, we're going to go through a little history lesson, because I like to make this informative, but not just me sampling beer and telling you what I think, but actually educational. Before we do jump into that, be sure to subscribe. If you've been enjoying the show, thank you. If you enjoy the other content on the channel, thank you as well. But be sure to subscribe. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I need all the help that I can get. So keep clicking that button. So up first is Stroh's. Stroh's is, I moved the camera real quick. This is Stroh's beer. Great story. One of my very first steins that my wife bought me as a collection, for my collection, was a Stroh's stein back in the 70s during the beer tours at the distillery or the brewery in Detroit. You could buy steins to do your sampling, and I have a really beautiful Stroh's stein. For the longest time I thought, well, I'll never be able to try the beer that this actually came from. And then I saw Stroh's one day in the liquor store and picked it up. So Stroh's, traditional brewing heritage since 1775 is what it says on the can. The history of Stroh's: in 1850, a brewer named Bernard Stroh came to Detroit from Germany and started brewing beer from his old family recipe. So that's why the family heritage since 1775. He was 28 when he started the beer that he called Stroh's in Detroit. It was closed down. Actually, it looks like things have changed since the last time I reviewed this. It looks like Stroh's Brewing is back in business in Detroit. Isn't that cool? Hold on, I'm going to check one other source. So originally, the Stroh Brewing Company was established in 1885 in Detroit, or 1850, sorry, in Detroit. Bernard Stroh took charge at the death of his father. Then Prohibition happened, growth and expansion up into the 60s and 70s was in Detroit. In 1982, Stroh's bid for 67% of Schlitz. By spring of that year, Stroh had purchased the entire company. In 1985, they closed its 135-year-old brewery in Detroit. Stroh's had taken heavy debt, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking for 1999, Stroh's was acquired by Pabst. But it looks like a version of Stroh's brewed elsewhere, evidently by Pabst, was set to be introduced to the Detroit area in 2022. Interesting. So I missed that tidbit the last time we did this, but it looks like Pabst reopened the Stroh's Brewery in Detroit in 2022. That's pretty awesome. All right, up against Stroh's is the only beer. Actually, I say that only one of two beers. One of three beers. Three of the beers I sampled came in bottles. Sorry, dog made a weird noise. She's been getting sick recently. I'm like, there's that panic sound. Lone Star Beer out of Texas is our other contender. Again, they won by default because I put them up against Ice House. Because when I Googled Ice House, I didn't pay very close attention, and it actually took me to the Miller Brewing Company page. So I thought Ice House was developed in 18 something. It wasn't. It was 1999 or something. So Lone Star won by default, but Lone Star has been around since 1884. Was the first large mechanized brewery in Texas. Adolphus Busch of Anheuser-Busch founded it along with a group of San Antonio businessmen. So it was kind of like a side project for Adolphus Busch, it sounds like. In the 70s, Lone Star exploded as the beer became adopted by the cosmic cowboys of country music. This era was spearheaded by Jerry Redsloff, marketing promotion manager for Lone Star Beer, association with Willie Nelson, and so on and so forth. So Lone Star, very popular in Texas, it sounds like. So here we go. We are going to try these two beers. They are relatively identical in appearance. The Stroh's did pour with a much nicer head, though it went away very quickly. So hopefully we have a better flavor profile because of that, but we will see. We are going to start with Stroh's first. Not going to lie, this is a house favorite. I actually drink Stroh's when I can find it at the local liquor store because I kind of like it for a Pilsner. It's pretty good stuff. So cheers. That's what I remember. It is a good beer. It's got a good sort of creamy finish, not too sharp. It's got good flavor, not too bitter or sour. Some Pilsners can be very sour tasting or kind of old tasting. Tastes like old beer. That's really, oh, excuse me, got the hiccups. That's really good. I like that. Little palate cleanser for you. All right, Lone Star beer. I didn't mind Lone Star. I remember, even though it won by default, it probably would have won anyway. It was just a good beer. It's still got a lot of carbonation coming off of it. Again, did not pour with a very good head, but it has maintained that bubbly consistency throughout. There's a flavor there that I remember the last time I had this that I'm not sure of. I don't dislike it. I don't dislike it at all. The Lone Star tastes more like a traditional Budweiser or Miller. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, if you gave me this and say a Coors or a Miller, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you the difference between the Lone Star and those. But they're very close. I'm going to try the Stroh's one more time, but I think I'm settled. Yeah. Honestly, the Stroh's is a little bit more clean of flavor. It may be because of its German heritage, its German background. German beers are notoriously more fresh tasting, more clean tasting. It doesn't have that sort of dad beer flavor, like I said, like a Coors or a Budweiser, and it's got a much cooler can. We're gonna go with Stroh's as our winner. Like I said, we're gonna come out of the semifinals with 3 beers. I will figure out how we're gonna pit them against each other to come out with 2 to face off against each other. What we may do is, because Stroh's is a house favorite, we may push it right to the finish line and pit whatever comes out of the other two against Stroh's as our sort of ringer, because Stroh's is quite literally a really good beer. It's probably one of the best out of the whole batch, but we'll see. You never know who it's going to face off against when we get to the last round. But yeah, Stroh's wins today. So thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate you. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you've had these and what you think. And I got plans for another beer review / competition coming up in the future, so stay tuned for that. Also, I will be doing a review of the Haunt's latest song here on Beard Wizard Reviews after I take a quick break. Thank you guys, everybody who was here. I really appreciate you. I will see you guys all again soon. You have a great one. Much love.